Looking to get a week ahead of your league mates? Well, you came to the right place. Tonight, we reveal our favorite fantasy football stashes that you can add for no fab following the week 4 waiver wire run. So pull up a stool, pour a drink. It's the IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my FTC. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, and this is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. Fall is here. Football season is booming, and it's a beautiful time to be alive, and I'm just grateful to be here with you. Seth Woolcock at your services tonight, folks. Tonight, I'm joined by a few of my best friends, a guy who could probably name every damn cornerback in the league at this point, boot scooting boogieing into your Twitter algorithm, Eric Romoff. Eric, you're back in the saddle. How's the season been so far for you, man?
Back in the saddle. He said fall's finally here. You damn sure could fool me. It is not fall-like here in the Lone Star State, but despite that, vibes are high. I can't believe we have 3 weeks already in the books. Can't believe we're already looking forward to some bye weeks starting to creep up in a week or so. We're definitely off and running in the NFL season.
Love to hear it. We're also joined by a guy who has a lot of books behind him because he has that massive brain, fills with sports and entertainment opinions. Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steve, how are we doing tonight, man?
Doing great, man. I'm so excited to be here as usual, ready to get some questions answered, hopefully help the people win some more fantasy stuff. I am 6-0 in my home league because we're doing median scoring, and I am just crushing. I have lapped people by 100 points scored. I am riding high.
Glad to hear it. I'm right there with you. Tonight on the program, we are loaded in the scope, our discount waiver wire stashes segment, a little off the top, cut candidates, a little fantasy, a little lifestyle and entertainment, because that's what we do here in Between Media. And we're also going to take you from the forum, take your questions here in the chat, and also take them over from the Fantasy Football Advice Network as well. I also want to shout out the man who makes this program run behind the scenes, Yinzer Ginger producer, Kyle Scott. Jim, looking forward to a little fall boys weekend here. A little golf on Saturday morning with you, a little college football action later on. How you feeling about it? How you feeling 3 weeks into the season, my friend?
I am feeling the wrath of fantasy football. I started off the highest scoring team in our league. Second week, the lowest scoring team in our league. So I'm doing as good as I can, but I'm so excited to be down in beautiful, scenic Lancaster this weekend. You're going to feel all the wrath of my one summer of golf lessons as a kid, man. I'm going to crush you.
I'm ready. I'm just there to crush the most beers. That's usually my goal on any golf team in any golf outing. So I'm looking forward to that as well, my friend. Thank you to the IBT family for hanging out with us as well each and every Tuesday. The easiest way to support us here is to subscribe if you're new. And if you are subscribed already, give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you have that notifications bell rung as well. So whenever we're releasing videos, you can make sure you're checking them out. Getting involved with any future giveaways as well. Looks like we got Albert hanging out with us here late night as well. What's up, Albert? Good to see you as always, man. We're still very busy here with the season, everything, all the content happening. We got a lot happening over on the site, so make sure you're checking out inbetweenmedia.com as well. But we're still up to some stuff as well. So excited to reveal that here, hopefully in a couple weeks with y'all. But let's go ahead and jump in, boys. We got a lot to get to, so let's crack it open here in the scope.
I have the stars in my sights.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the scope.
All right, this is our waivers a week early segment. These are the players you can get after the waivers run for little to no fab. You can just stash them. Hopefully, they become something. Sometimes they're the next Puka Nacua. Sometimes they're the Quentin Johnson of this season. Hey, good call on you, Steve. And sometimes they're absolutely nothing. But we're going to keep taking swings at this and hopefully save you guys some fab. And I think this is a great week to do it because there's Jawan Jennings out there. There's some other bigger names in some shallower leagues. You got Bucky Irving. You got Braylon Allen potentially as well, maybe still lingering out there. We told you about them a couple weeks ago. But besides that, like this is a really good week. I feel like save your fab and let's just keep saving it until later in the season. I want to start at the quarterback position though with the mainstream targets. These are the guys we will be paying up fab most likely on Tuesday night for. So check your waiver wire if you're listening to this after and see if they are available. Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. Fields roster in about 24.1% of leagues, Sam Darnold 16% of leagues, and Geno Smith for the Seahawks 27.8% of leagues. Eric, who would you rather acquire if you're scrambling a bit here, you think? Fields quarterback 18 on the season, Darnold quarterback 4, Geno Smith quarterback 12.
I mean, I guess in a vacuum, I would go with Sam Darnold of the three. He's scored the most points, and that is generally a good thing for your fantasy rosters. But also the way in which he's scoring these points is particularly impressive, right? He's tied for second in red zone passing attempts. He's up over 400 air yards already, and he's doing all of this without his full complement of weapons. We haven't seen him with Jordan Addison. We haven't seen him with TJ Hawkinson. So while he's currently sitting at QB4, I think there might be a little bit of upside left in him, which is really interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I did a re-ranking of the first round today out on Twitter. I put that out, and I think Justin Jefferson's probably my wide receiver 1 going forward, just based off what we saw from Darnold. He got hurt a little bit there. He was banged up, came off the field. I think we were all like, "Oh my gosh, like we can't lose Sam Darnold here," which is saying something. What about you, Steve? Are you still kind of on the Darnold train as well? And I know you've kind of been like preaching that Justin Fields gospel almost all offseason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sam Darnold has been red hot to start the season. The problem is Sam Darnold has started a few seasons red hot in the past. When he was with the Carolina Panthers, we saw him come out like a man on fire. Sam Darnold has a history of doing this. Not that I'm saying he's going to totally regress. I think he may very well do fine, but he has very little rushing upside, where Justin Fields is now starting to look more and more comfortable in that offense. And we saw it for the first time this week, where he looked like he just was unleashed, right? Like he threw that offense on his back. You know, that's in your country, right? Those lures out there where they were delivering for you. And I knew, like I called it early this offseason when Justin Fields went there. I said that should be your starting quarterback because his dual threat ability, his ability to control the pace of the game is very rare in this kind of NFL right now. And it's allowing the Steelers to play the exact brand of football they want to play. And he's just looking more and more explosive, more and more comfortable. I'm all in on Justin Fields at this point.
Yeah, I think he's also cleaning up some of those errors that we've seen in the past. Took a lot of sacks. He's still getting pressured at a very high clip, the second highest clip among quarterbacks right now. So teams know, hey, we got to pressure Justin Fields here, right? And but at the same time, they're not sacking him like they were in the past. He's getting the ball out quickly. He only has 1 pick at this point. So I'm with you there. I think like Darnold probably is the prize. Just I think he might have more upside here just because this is an Arthur Smith-led offense. This is a team in the AFC North. They're going to kind of grit it out with defense and trying to run the ball. But at the same time, like I would be fine with paying less for Fields and getting him than paying up for Darnold because Eric, there is always that chance that Darnold just turns back into the pumpkin.
Yeah, and that's really what I was driving at when I say in a vacuum, right? Of the three, I'll go with the one that is the highest scoring and that potentially has a bit more upside to his game. But this game that we play is not conducted in a vacuum, right? I would imagine that among free agent cornerbacks, Sam Darnold is probably going to be the most expensive one to acquire this week, right? Whereas Justin Fields, I mean, he's got the Steelers to 3-0. Apart from the Rust Belt, though, I don't know how much national attention he's getting. So you might be able to sneak him in under the radar, at least on the cheap, or like you alluded to, maybe grabbing him for free tomorrow morning, which is absolutely my favorite type of waiver acquisition.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you play in any leagues with me, I apologize. I've had Justin Fields since honestly draft season. Like especially in the super flexes. Scott Fishbowl in one of my favorite super flexes. Kyle, the league you and I are in together. I took Justin Fields in like the 14th round, and I just kind of kept swinging at him in redraft as well, like adding him after the draft went. When I heard he was the starter, I was down on him. So yeah, I'm gonna keep holding.
Is he the starter though? Mike Tomlin's playing it slow every single week.
That's all right.
We'll see. We'll see who's available.
Wasn't Russ a healthy scratch this week? I mean,
you'll lose the
done.
locker room. You'll lose the locker room, man. If you switch at this point, you're 3-0. Let the good times roll. Let that Iron City light roll out there in the Berg as well. Let's move on here to the running back mainstream waiver wire additions. Bucky Irvin, 32% rostered. I don't know how he's only rostered at 32% now. Like, this is a guy after week 1 who should have been picked up. Rico Dowdle getting now the main line share of that work in the Dallas Cowboy backfield, 37% rostered. Braylon Allen's out there, 28% rostered. Ty Chandler should still probably be rostered. Tyler Algier, same thing. If you want to get down and dirty with it, Alexander Madison, Justice Hill, Cam Akers, Emmanuel Wilson, Roshan. We saw Roshan. I apologize, folks. I thought it was going to be Khalil Herbert all offseason, who was going to be the guy to take this from Swift. Looks like it might be Roshan. They're going with a young buck out of Texas there, second-year guy, converted quarterback at one point. Out of all these running backs, Steve, are any of them worth a good chunk of your fab if they are still out there? In a lot of the leagues I play, they are not. But I know there's a lot of leagues that, 70+% that Irving, Dowdle, Allen, they're all out there.
I mean, it depends on what you define as a good percentage. I mean, anything more than 20%, probably not. Listen, I don't want any, like, Bucky Irving's a good player, but Rachaad White isn't going to let go of his job entirely. That's going to be a messy kind of situation there. I think, Roshan, leave him where he is. Rico, it's just not a good run offense. I think if I'm going with any of these guys, I'm probably taking Braylon Allen because he's a Breece Hall injury away from being, and he looks the most elite, right? Like, he looks like the guy who has the talent. Like, we now know, and it's so glaringly obvious, the Cowboys should have taken Braylon Allen.
I know.
In the draft. And we were all sitting there expecting them to, and then they didn't. And it's almost as if they did it out of spite, like, just to be stubborn. Like, they dug their heels in, stuck their fingers in their ears, and just la, 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 la. And now he's on the Jets. And when they run Breece Hall into the ground, he'll just be there to pick up and take over.
I like him. I liked him all the way back in Wisconsin as well. And he was a guy I had circled. I thought he would go higher in the NFL draft. Didn't have a great combine showing. I think that was kind of part of that, knocking him down there. Eric, if you had to scoop up one of these guys, is Braylon Allen probably the top target for you as well? Or do you like Bucky and kind of what we're seeing out of him? I don't think Rachaad White had any more than one carry in the second half. Bucky Irvin kind of started taking that ground and pound role there a little bit.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you have to first preface what you're looking for when you're going out to acquire a running back, right? If you need someone to come in and contribute immediately, albeit in somewhat of a capped manner, then I think the guys like Irving, like Dowdle, like Allen are definitely ones to prioritize, right? These are the guys that are starting to push 20, 25, 30% opportunity share. For me, unless I'm dealing with injury at the position, which generally I have enough depth on my roster to withstand a couple of injuries, I actually like to go out and speculate in the implied value markets, right? So that's where guys like Braylon Allen are absolutely huge. Emmanuel Wilson is another interesting one. He's going to be a bit more expensive this week because he had the big play for the touchdown, so his price is going to inflate. But nonetheless, he is an injury away from having the reins in a very potent offense overall. The only other thing that I'll mention here is proceed with caution with Roshan Johnson. Yes, anybody is better than DeAndre Swift, damn near, in this Chicago offense. But a lot of the reason why DeAndre Swift is ineffective is because of how horrendous this offensive line is, and he's having to stay in and do a lot of additional pass protection. So if Roshan Johnson cedes any of that work from him, he's now going to be running into a calamity of errors, a bunch of guys that are already in the box having to stay back and pass protect, right? So while the volume opportunity might be as great, if not greater, than any of the other implied value guys, the actual opportunity itself is a bit weaker because that O-line is just such trash.
Yeah,
bad.
did you guys see that fourth down play? The
Where
speed
they all were
option.
just laying down.
It was a speed option on the left. I mean, kind of a ballsy call. Listen, in NCAA, that's kind of my go-to on fourth down. I'm not gonna lie. I do pull out the speed option out of the bag a lot, but I'm no offensive coordinator, and also at the same time, like my line is an absolute dog shit in NCAA. At least I hope not. Like, oh my god, that looked like Appalachian State line out there, some shit. So, yeah, tough scene, and I think I agree with you as well. I think it's going to be more of like a dirty football relevant position, maybe not as fantasy football relevant, whoever is the main back in the Chicago backfield there. Looking at the wide receiver position here. Oh, actually, let's stay with the running back position. FBU saying news on Joe Mixon. Kyle, can you pull that up for us? See what you can find on Joe Mixon. I would love to see what's going on there before we kind of totally shift away from the running back position. Mr. Scamper saying, in Dynasty, how would you rate these waiver wire pickups at the running back position? Ty Johnson, Isaac Garendo, or CPAT? Hashtag nasty boys. All right, so I honestly was going to come on here and probably talk about Cordell Patterson. I think he should probably almost maybe be even rostered in redraft after getting the news. Najee Harris seen in a sling after this week 3 win against the Chargers here. And Jalen Warren also banged up. So there's a chance we see CPAT in action. Mike Tomlin, though, is also kind of giving us the good old, hey, he's ready to go here. So I'm not worried about Najee, but CPAT might be a guy to be on your radar. Ty Johnson, I don't know. Ty Johnson, he got the touchdown there, on Monday night, Eric, right? Ty Johnson, he's vultured one away from James Cook.
Yeah, he did. And as expected, we saw more and more of his work come as the Bills were leading by an increasingly large amount, right? So we can't exactly project that forward with as much confidence. So, unless you're looking for somewhere between 3 and 6 points, I would probably set Ty Johnson aside. And at that point, you're really just looking at a couple of implied value guys, right? I think the path to realizing that implied value is a little bit shorter for CPAT, right? Both of the guys in front of him are actively injured. We don't know exactly at this point to what degree. Whereas Garendo, I mean, he's clearly the backup to Jordan Mason. And I think we're going to see Christian McCaffrey out for quite some time as he heads out abroad.
I am nervous.
Second and third and fifth opinions, right?
Yeah. Let's stay there. Let's stay there for a second. Like Steve, I honestly think Garendo probably should get rostered regardless. I think in Dynasty, especially, I'd probably be willing to pay for him a good bit because he is the youngest player in here. He does have some untapped potential. He was the fastest running back in the combine. We talked about him as one of our sleepers after the NFL combine this offseason as well. So Garendo, he's a nasty boy. I think he fits the bill here. Are you willing to go up and pay for him? Because in Dynasty, if he's out there, I would spend a shit ton of fab on him because I am worried about Christian McCaffrey as he heads over to Germany to get looked at by an Achilles specialist.
Yeah, so I definitely would consider spending quite a bit of fab in a Dynasty setting for him because, like I said a few programs ago, these Achilles tendonitis issues, it's starting to sound more and more like that might be like a partial tear or something like that they're not totally reporting on. But these things have a real issue with rupturing. And that's why McCaffrey is seeking so many different specialists at this point, probably, is to try to figure out how to play without rupturing his Achilles, and trying to heal that quicker and get that swelling down. But the problem is Achilles, you use it every day. If you're walking at all, you're using your Achilles, and there's no good way to protect it other than to just rest it. I would not be surprised, truly, if they shut CMC down for the entire regular season and bring him back for the playoffs.
So with that being said, for Dynasty, I'm Garendo, CPAT, Ty Johnson in that order. Are you that order as well, Eric and Steve, or do you have a differential order, Eric?
Nope, that's it.
100% the same order. This is me not realizing this was a Dynasty question. Garendo has no business being on the wire in Dynasty formats.
Get him, pay it all. Use it all. All right. At the wide receiver position here for the mainstream targets, before we get to our deeper in the scope targets, Jawan Jennings, Wandale Robinson, Quentin Johnston, Andre Yosivas, Jalen Naylor, and Alan Lazard. We talked about Jawan Jennings last week. I don't know how he wasn't picked up in more than 36% of leagues on ESPN. We've been talking about Wan'Dale Robinson since after week 1. Get him on your rosters as well. Steve, you shouted out Quentin Johnson before the season even started. So you took a leap of faith, my friend. That was you got buried in the comments a little bit as well of that
A little
video.
bit.
So glad to see you coming back on top. And Yosifas, like, he could almost be an in the scope guy still too, because no one is picking this guy up. He's got touchdown in like every fucking game, I think. So
And it's like 2 years of him doing this too. I feel like he's kind of done this for a minute here.
yeah, talented second year guy. And he was the guy people were getting late in dynasty drafts a year ago as well. And then Jalen Naylor, he's another guy, 3 touchdowns in 3 straight games as well. So Eric, are you paying up for Juwan Jennings? He's wide receiver 4 on the season. He had 46.5 fantasy points this past weekend, 11 receptions, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns in week 3. Or are you taking a flyer on someone else? I do want to preface this question with, I got a call from my buddy who picked up Juwan Jennings and he started him. And he said, I feel like the luckiest person on the planet. I said, well, you should be, because I think there's probably about a 1 in 1,000,000% chance that ever happens to you again in your entire life playing fantasy football.
Yeah, 100%. I am reminded of a season many years ago where I slotted in Kenny Britt in a bye week desperation. I think he scored 3 touchdowns as well, right? Like these are once in a playing career type of outings from a fantasy standpoint and probably from a real life standpoint, right? This is an opportunity that was made available to him due to injury, both to Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. And now, if you want to go out and acquire him, you're going to have to run through a huge chunk of your fab, to the point where I'm probably not going to get any Juwan Jennings on tonight's waiver wire run. Not because I don't want him. I'm just not going to spend up like that, right? If he gets overlooked and I can get him for 12, 15%, whatever. But generally speaking, everyone saw him go nuts in that late slate of games, and he's going to be a very expensive piece to go out and acquire.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'd rather just kind of, I think, throw a little bit of fab at one of these other guys here potentially. Want to address the chat here. We got Rachel hanging out with us. Hey, Rachel, good to see you tonight. We appreciate you. Seeing some more questions coming in here that aren't directly related to what we're speaking about now. So we'll get to those in our last segment of the show from the forum, but continue to drop those questions, guys. We want to make sure we're helping you out as much as we can here. We appreciate the IBT family hanging out with us as always. The tight ends just kind of be on the radar for tonight as well on these waiver wire runs. Hunter Henry still only rostered about 55% of leagues. Cole Kmet, 26% rostered. Colby Parkinson still out there if you got any belief in Colby. It's been a slow couple weeks after a big week 1 for him. 43% roster. Then Mike Gesicki, another guy Steve shouted out last week in the scope. So let's get to those in the scope targets. These are the players you can grab after the waivers run tomorrow for no fab. Put in a $0 bid tonight. Sleep soundly. Wake up. Steve, do you still do the thing on ESPN and some of my other platforms? My waivers run at like 5 a.m. So I usually set alarms for that and then wake up and like get some free agents. Like, do you do that still? Are you in that mode of degen operation still?
I don't like the implication that I'm so old that I can't. But I'll tell you what, I actually don't have to set an alarm because I'm usually awake when they run at 3 a.m.
Oh.
So I am usually awake. I stay up pretty late. And I'm not a big sleeper. So this has nothing to do with anything, but I'm about a 4-hour a night, maybe 6-hour a night sleeper. So I'm usually up. And I get to see the waivers run. Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy. I swear to God, it's genetic. My mom's the same way. So, and I'm nothing if not my mother's son. So I like to look and see the waivers. I don't obsess over them because I'm usually not a terribly active waiver wire guy in my ESPN league.
Okay. I'm a
trader. I'm a trader, not a signer.
Okay. I'm an absolute degen. Eric, are you a degen too? Are you waking up early?
Yeah, so I am absolutely a degen when it comes to the waiver wire and to trades. Basically, I just love churning my roster. I'm the dude that, once the score is locked and we have the new standings on Tuesday, I'm dropping my kicker, I'm dropping my defense, and I'm clearing out roster spots so I can start adding players on. I'm right there with Steve too. While you're setting an alarm and you're wiping the crust out of your eyes, I've already been awake for like 3 hours because I have kids. right? So I'm sitting there,
sitting
sharp
there
as a
all
tack.
tired, reaching for his glasses, trying to
Yeah,
find his
can't
fucking
even see the screen, right?
Velmaing his
So,
way through a 5 a.m. wake up call.
right. This
I
is
promise.
one of the few fantasy football benefits to having kids. You're usually awake
Yeah.
when that free agency period opens up, and
Also, a benefit of
much like
not
Steve,
having
I
kids.
also love the trade markets and try and turn over my roster that way.
Hell yeah,
Look at that.
absolutely.
The old guys get it done.
Old guys get it done. Absolutely. Always a fan of old guys here. Dragonheart saying Trey Tucker waiver wire ad. Trey Tucker's a guy we haven't talked about. He's a great in the scope candidate, I think. If you want to kind of make a speculative ad, we know there's a little bit of tension, some business decisions being made out there in Las Vegas. So I don't hate it. You know, it's hard for me to get excited about the fourth option in the Las Vegas Raiders passing game. I think, but you know, if business decisions are made out there, you never know. You never know. So I don't hate that, Dragonheart. I appreciate you tuning in as always, man.
I know.
Let's go.
I do know.
What?
There are going to
What?
be business decisions made that involve Devontae Adams not taking the field. Trey Tucker has had his best game of the season. Because of that, in his 23 points, you're going to have to pay more than you ought to in order to acquire what I believe to be
I don't think
fifth
so.
option in the Raiders offense.
You think you're gonna have to pay for Trey Tucker? I think you can get him for $0.
I do 100%.
Really?
Everyone that's not
Devontae Adams
actually
is a Jet.
consuming fantasy analysis out there, when they're
True.
running their waivers, they go in and they sort by the highest points from last week, and he's one of the top 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah,
Easy.
good point.
What if
Good point.
Devontae Adams winds up a Jet like Aaron Rodgers wants?
That would be amazing.
I'd be happy.
I don't know if they've got
You know,
the
like-
pieces to make that deal happen. Though.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you have a head coach that is pretty out on his star wide receiver right now, and the star wide receiver who's really out on the situation he's in.
It seemed like they loved each other just a couple weeks ago too. So
Yeah, everyone pretends to like
I
each
think
other
that was
until-
just post game emotion, right?
Was
Like,
it Mike Tyson
especially
who
with
said
a
it like,
player coach.
yeah, is it Mike Tyson who said everybody's tough till they get punched in the face?
Yeah,
That's kind of the
Close enough.
mentality like that the NFL players take. Is they're like, this is our season. The fuck you mean it's your season? You're a Raider. Like you sign there, you know you're going 7-9. Like get over it.
yeah, yep. I agree. Let's get back on track here with our in the scope targets. Eric, I'll throw it over to you first, man. Who's a player you're targeting for 0 to no fab, hoping to potentially scoop up here on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm looking at Xavier Legette from the red hot Carolina Panthers. He is rostered on 20% of leagues, so at least a slight chance that he's not available in yours, but opportunity is opening up for him as Adam Thielen heads to IR with a hamstring. And we're looking at a guy that, despite being the clear third option prior to that injury, was already getting a 20% red zone target share. He was very clearly their downfield option, 15.1 air yards per attempt. And it's specifically looking at his circumstance with Andy Dalton now. Andy Dalton comes in, throws 37 pass attempts. That'd be the fifth most on a per game basis in the league. And he's throwing the ball in a way that complements Xavier Legette's skill set. He was tied for second in 10-yard pass attempts, in 20-yard pass attempts, and 30-yard pass attempts last week. He was tied for second in red zone passing attempts, all things that the Panthers generally look towards Xavier Legette for. And now this week he heads into a very pass-heavy game script against a Bengals team that is, granted, 0-3, but still very capable of producing on the offensive side of the ball.
I like Legette. I know I've heard it a bunch of different ways pronounced. I'm gonna roll with Legette. Either way, though, I think this guy, like, now's the time, man. Now's the time to step up. It's kind of what we didn't see from Quentin Johnston last season. So let's see if Legette can do it here. I like the call out there from Eric. Let's go over to you, Steve. Who's your in the scope target here for week number 4?
Well, I had to bully you to let me make this my in the scope target this week. That's Antonio Gibson. And anybody who's followed me on Twitter for any amount of time knows I am the president, the king, the czar, the grand poobah of the Antonio Gibson fan club. And I will pound the table until I'm blue in the face and tell you that Antonio Gibson is a starting running back in this league. He's a top 20 talent running back in this league and is the superior talent to the man that is starting ahead of him in New England. And it is not a question in my mind. He is better than Rhamondre Stevenson. He is more dynamic. He has more burst. He's a better pass catcher. He's a better route runner. He was a wide receiver in college. The only thing you can hold over Antonio Gibson's head is that he has fumbling issues. But there have been plenty of running backs in NFL history who have fumbling issues. Adrian Peterson was notorious for fumbling issues. That shouldn't lose someone their job when they are putting up 1,000 yards rushing. He did that. A few years ago, he went against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day and tore them to shreds. To shreds. That man is bad. He is a bad man, and he should be rostered. He should be starting. He should be doing all those things. And frankly, the coaching staff in New England has no obligation or loyalty to Rhamondre Stevenson, and it's starting to show that Antonio Gibson is the better player in New England.
And they prioritized him in free agency. I think that says at least something that they do like him. He was the more productive running back last week, Eric.
2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row.
I do have some Antonio Gibson shares. I know he's out there in a pretty good wide majority of leagues right now as well, still over 70% on ESPN. Would you be making a play potentially after waivers run for Antonio Gibson? I feel like he's still not like a sexy appeal here, but he's a guy I wouldn't mind having at the end of my bench, maybe for a running back 4 or 5. I don't think he's as good as Rhamondre Stevenson in my opinion, but I think he still is a versatile player in this league, specifically what he can do in the receiving game, which New England always likes to have that type of scat back.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Specifically in the context of in the scope where you're going out and getting someone for free. This is the type of player that I like to speculate in, right? I like to use the end of my bench for these sort of speculative ads. Yeah. And while I'm a little bit closer to your side of the spectrum, Seth, I don't think that there's a huge talent gap between these two players. I would lean on the side of Rhamondre Stevenson being a bit more talented. What we're seeing in New England week over week, 22% snap share in week 1 for Antonio Gibson, 24 in week 2, 37 in week 3. Granted, that was a game where they were trailing for the majority of it, and it was very much so over by the fourth quarter. But we see a 3-week trend where he's getting more and more time on the field, and these are the type of trends that you have to jump on early and capitalize on, right? Throw him on the end of their bench, and if next week he pushes 37 again, he pushes 40, then you've got someone that you can hold there, and if that trend eventually flips, you got for free when everyone else is breaking the bank to go out and get him.
Absolutely. I will round us out here with my in the scope target here for week number 4. It's the man on the thumbnail, Calvin Austin, wide receiver, Pittsburgh Steelers, only rostered in about 0.1% of leagues. Even though he is one of those guys that I think he went out, he had a big performance. I don't think you're able to pay up for him. I think you can get him after waivers run for nothing. 20 PPR points this past week, 4 for 95 and 1. And this could very well just be a flash in the pan, folks. Like, keep that in mind. He's a 3rd-year, 4th-round wide receiver coming out of Memphis, like Antonio Gibson. Lost his rookie season in 2022 to a foot injury, missed that entire season. Had just 17 receptions for 180 yards and a touchdown last year. Has almost already beat that in both statistics. However, like, this guy is a speed merchant. That's kind of what he was brought in for. Ran a 4.32 40-yard dash. That's the 99th percentile. And the opportunity is there for Calvin Austin, in my opinion. Rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson, he was a healthy scratch on Sunday. They had just 4 wide receivers active. GP, George Pickens, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, and our guy here as well, Calvin Austin. Van Jefferson left that game with an eye injury. Austin has ran from the slot about 52% of the time. And I think based on what he did this past weekend, he could maybe challenge Van Jefferson for that flanker role in the wide receiver 2 set. So I kind of like Calvin Austin here. I think he'll get a bigger opportunity. We don't know the status of Van Jefferson to begin with. The question here, I think, if you're picking up Calvin Austin, trying to get a little discount on the lures here, can they produce enough action here? Can they produce enough of fantasy production to give us another fantasy asset? They have the Colts this weekend. They're giving up the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers. We just saw what they gave up to Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet and company. Give them an ad, see what happens. Then they have the Cowboys, the Raiders, and then the Jets, Giants, and Commanders. So the Giants and Commanders kind of stick out to me here a couple weeks from now. So pick him up for free, see what he does this weekend, and maybe you have a bye week replacement down the line. Yeah.
And I like it.
Any love from you, Eric? Any love on Calvin Austin? Like I said, could be the flash in the pan, but at the same time, I'm willing to take the gamble here.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think you're where I'll disagree with you is I think you're in good company that people, as someone that will take a gamble here, right? Currently, Calvin Austin is the 10th most added player on Sleeper. So if you are like Seth and you believe that this is his opportunity to announce himself and to solidify a role in the Steelers offense, maybe don't roll the dice and see if you can get him for free. Throw a couple bucks out there. It'll be a nominal fee for someone that can ultimately, according to
I thought I
Seth's
was being
argument.
sneaky.
Yeah,
I
I
thought I
mean
was
look again, right? Like people go out and they sort by most fantasy points scored last week. Calvin Austin went out and put up a 20 spot, so he's going to be right towards the top of that list. I would almost guess he's probably about 10th on that list, right where he sits in terms of the number of ads on Sleeper, right? So,
Yeah.
if you like that argument, which I think you make a salient case, right? Like Van Jefferson is Van Jefferson. Like he's never really gonna look all that appealing out there. He's a bit more of a workman style wide receiver. So we get a situation where a speedster, a dynamic electric player like Calvin Austin gets to see more snaps, and he does anything with them, right? He repeats even a fraction of this performance from last
Yeah.
week, and he's going to catch the coaching staff's attention, and maybe that's the point where he now is going to be taking the field more often.
The workman wide receiver. I like that a lot. I think him and KJ
Let's go, guy.
Osborne, Mac Hollins, they should all start
Yeah, basically everyone that's been a wide receiver for the New England Patriots since Randy Moss. Like that is the workman receiver coalition.
Absolutely. Guys, I'm seeing some more questions come in the chat here. We'll get to those here in just a little bit. We do have, we want to tell you guys who you can maybe potentially drop here in our next segment as well. So hang out with us here soon, and we'll get to those questions in a little bit. Appreciate everyone tuning in with us as always here. Easiest way to support us on the channel, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new as well. And let's get in a little more in depth here with a little off the top.
A little off the top, ain't talking about a fade or a crop. Steady hand, know when to stop. Just a little off the top, whoa, easy now.
All right, just a little off the top. We're going to start some fantasy football questions about who are some players we can potentially cut, because when we are adding from the waiver wire, we also got to cut some players from our teams as well. And let's start here at the quarterback position. We'll go through each position with a couple names, and then we'll get to some fun, relevant time questions and also some pop culture ones as well. So let's start out here with cut one: Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, or Derek Carr. Anthony Richardson is currently QB 19, just 5 points this past week after about 10 here the week before. Steelers coming in to Indianapolis this next week, and then it's Jacksonville and Tennessee. Caleb Williams, pretty disappointing start for the young buck here, QB 27, but did look somewhat competent here this past week against Indianapolis. 17.3 fantasy points for him. Baker Mayfield, QB6 currently for our guy Big Show there. Had a really good start to the season, and then just 8.5 fantasy points this past week. First dud of it all. And then Derek Carr. Fuck this guy. I'm going to be honest with you. Fuck Derek Carr. I finally, I didn't play him anywhere, but I bet the over in this game. And I
warned you. And the worst part is I warned you. We talked about this last week.
And I threw 3 units on it. So I mean, I should have known.
No one listens. No one listens. I come on the show every week. I tell everyone what's up, and then no one listens, and then you fucking lose.
Yeah. So, but it feels like every time we trust Derek Carr, he does this to us. So, Steve, with that being said, cut one: Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, or Derek Carr. Who are you cutting?
Derek Carr. It's Derek Carr. It was always Derek Carr. It was never not going to be Derek Carr. That's the guy. Because you know what? Remember what I said about Hunter Henry a few weeks back? It's like going back to that bad X that you had.
Yeah.
That's where we're at again. And you went back to the X, and they said they changed, and they didn't. They never do. They never change.
They had a new offensive coordinator, though. It was
But
all
they
going
didn't
to be good.
quarterback unless Derek Carr has a new brain between his ears and new legs that actually let him move in the outside of the pocket. He is useless. He is not a good quarterback. He is a system guy. He's a game manager. He's not going to be. I told you he is over reliant on 50-yard touchdowns. And when Rashid Shaheed can't get behind the defense,
And he even did get behind. He dropped it too.
yeah, but and then you saw who Derek Carr is on that interception that ended the game. You saw who Derek Carr was on the interception that ended the game. He's a panic kind of guy. He's not terribly.
What did Derek
Good.
Carr do to you? My goodness.
You know what? Honestly,
What
as
did
he
he do to
keeps,
you? You just said,
yeah,
fuck
you
this
told
guy
me,
heading into
yeah, you
the
said
second
fuck this guy
half.
to start. And frankly, it's not Derek Carr that I have a beef with. It's everybody who keeps picking him up when I'm telling them not to. Like I'm giving you my heart and soul here on a platter, and I'm telling you not to do this thing. And then you do it, and then you sit there and cry about it. I don't know what else to say.
I'm guilty of that because I started Derek Carr a couple years ago in the playoffs of fantasy. That one game when he got hurt and Mariota came in and got like 29 points.
When he cried on the
And-
field.
Yeah, that's yeah. So I've never gotten over that. Eric, with that being said, are you cutting Derek Carr here as well? Are you on the fuck Derek Carr train, or yeah, got a little love for a homie?
Look, I will never be on the fuck Derek Carr train because he is the blood, he is the kinfolk of David Carr, the Houston Texans' first ever quarterback. So I'll never
That's
not
true.
have love for him. But that
That's
also,
true.
the weirdest thing about this whole interaction is how you're talking about every time we've trusted Derek Carr, he's burned us. Who's out there trusting Derek Carr? Like,
Dude,
I don't
over
know
the
what
years,
segment of the population is.
you trust Derek Carr, man. 2016, I was riding him to a fantasy championship, and then he got his fucking knee blown out.
Oh, yeah. The fantasy championship that didn't come when you were trusting Derek Carr, was that the one that you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Exactly, the same
Anyways,
one that.
in 2024, Derek Carr is clearly the one to cut here. Not just because he baited Seth into burning 3 units, but also because he's only throwing the ball like 23 times a game, right? Like, it is really hard to sustain that type of fantasy performance on such a low volume. All it takes is one ball to get dropped or one drive to not go your way, and all of a sudden you go from being a top 5 guy to like a bottom 20 guy real quick. Whereas Richardson still has the upside for however ugly it's been. Baker Mayfield is a little bit closer to Derek Carr, but he does throw the ball a lot more often. And Caleb Williams, honestly, might be one of my favorite players to go out and acquire, someone I've been trying to acquire for the first 2 weeks of the season. A lot of it is because of volume. He's throwing the ball almost 40 times a game. He has an embarrassment of riches in terms of his weapons. And if you go out and watch the tape, granted, this is a slight against him, but his receivers are getting him left and right because they're getting open and he's not getting the read and delivering the ball. I think that is something that will get better week over week, as evidenced by week number 3, right? He was able to hit Rhamondre when he got open. I think we'll see those incremental steps forward. So getting Caleb Williams for next to nothing is not a bad idea in my mind.
Okay. Cut 1, Zamir White, Javonte Williams, or Ezekiel Elliott. Zamir White currently RB49, averaging about 4.9 points per game, and keeps getting vultured by Alexander Madison, that sneaky bastard. Javonte Williams, snap counts hovering right around 50 to 60% in the Broncos backfield, but just RB38 on the season, has only 52 rushing yards, 2.2 yards per carry. Ezekiel Elliott, meanwhile, very, very disappointing to see what's happened there in the Dallas backfield. Zeke started out in week 1, 51% of snaps. Comes back in week 2, 49% of snaps. Okay, we can deal with the split backfield. 19% of snaps in week 3. They were trailing for a lot of that. That is something to kind of have in perspective here. However, Hunter Luepke played more snaps when they were trailing, played more snaps in the game as well. So, man, I'm panicking. I got him in Scott Fishbowl. I got him in a couple other places as well, gentlemen. So who am I cutting here, Eric?
You are cutting Ezekiel Elliott like you should have in week 1 or in week 2, or just not drafted him altogether. That's very much so been my line throughout the course of the offseason. Just in general, it's hard to trust a Cowboys running back, right? Like, this team is probably going to be trailing a lot. Their offensive line is not the unit that it once was. Now we're looking at a world where not only has he fallen to the wrong side of the split with Rico Dowdle, but then you've got Luepke coming in, Deuce Vaughn is getting a little bit of work. Dalvin Cook is still lurking on the practice squad, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it's very likely that we're looking at a point where not only is Ezekiel Elliott hard to roster, but probably most of these Cowboy running backs are going to be tough to save a roster spot for.
Steve, you still hitting the panic button out there in Las Vegas? I know you weren't too kind to them. So you going back to Xavier here? You also cutting Zeke?
I'm kind of, is all of the above an option? These guys suck. Like that's the bottom. Like this is trash. Like at least the first one, you could be like Anthony Richardson will probably turn it around. Caleb Williams is throwing it 10,000 times a game. Baker Mayfield has some upside. Where the fuck is the upside in these guys?
Yeah.
Like this is like watching three dudes run with cement shoes on. I mean, this is ugly. And I told everyone again last week that Zamir White shouldn't have been drafted. You know, now everyone's like, should I cut him? Should you cut him? Like you should sue him for ruining your fantasy season is what you should do. Like the absolute propaganda that came out of fucking Las Vegas for this guy. Like, oh, he's so fast. He's going to be this workhorse. Josh Jacobs 2.0. Yo, you know what? Josh Jacobs may have actually been half decent. Granted, he's not looking great anymore. It looks like they ran him into the ground as well. Zamir White was never going to be that dude. Like that, you could look at him and know that. It just doesn't look like a star. And Javonte Williams, he's slow. He's kind of heavy. He's a fullback. That's nothing. Zeke, he's 100.
Catches a lot of passes though. Javonte's still catching passes. I think that's
passes. I guess if I had to keep one, I'd keep Javonte. This is where I'd go, and I'd go Javonte, Zamir, Zeke. If I had to rank these like top to bottom, but God, is that like if you're in a situation where you're like having to choose between these guys, something's gone horribly wrong with your fantasy season. You might as well phone it in.
Yeah, Zeke and Zamir, that would be a close one to me. I would like to keep them both on my team for another week or two before I do make this decision, but gun to the head, I would probably go Zeke, and it hurts me to say that because I was a guy touting him a little bit this offseason, the role he could get. So hands up, apologies, egg on my face, folks, for that one. Not always going to bat 100 in this space. Cut one, Cortland Sutton, Christian Watson, or Keon Coleman, gentlemen. Cortland Sutton getting a ton of targets, 2 games with 11 plus targets. However, just wide receiver 54 so far to start the season. Meanwhile, Christian Watson, wide receiver 72, on the field for about 54 to 65% of the snaps so far this season, about the third most on that Packers unit there. And Keon Coleman, just kind of a weird start to the career for Keon Coleman here. Went from playing 91% of the snaps in week 2, looked like he was going to be that full-time X wide receiver, to just 32% in week number 3. He did catch one touchdown on a target, though. However, they're running out MVS 77% of the times this past week. Matt Collins as well, 72% of the time, Eric. So I'm kind of panicking on all 3 of these wide receivers right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, it hasn't been a great start for really any of them, right? In particular, this is the one setup that I just take issue with. I don't think you should really be cutting any of these 3 guys, right?
Okay, that's fine.
You know, really depending on the options that are out there on your wire, but practically speaking, there are very likely not guys that you should be cutting any of these 3 for. That doesn't, remove the fact that they are off to very troubling starts in terms of each of their respective seasons. For me, I mean, I guess I would cut Cortland Sutton. That's more
really with all those targets.
I mean, it's more of an indictment on Bo Nix, right? But I mean, to your point, like all of those targets, I think he's like 13th in air yard share in the entire league. Like he's very clearly the wide receiver 1 in this offense. Again, why I don't necessarily want to cut any of them, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in this offense becoming this big, passing juggernaut over the course of the season. So I think a lot of those targets are going to hit the dirt. I think a lot of those air yards are going to be unrealized. So if I had to project one forward, I think he's probably going to have the worst season out of these 3.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes absolute sense there to me, but I think it's kind of a hold all here. Steve, are you kind of in that boat as well that, hey, we want to hold all these guys. We know it's kind of been a disappointing start for Coleman, Watson as well, Cortland Sutton. Like you're not going to find 11 plus targets out there on the street for me. So I will keep all these guys, but I mean, Watson's getting dangerously close here. We'll see how he does with Love back in the mix in the next couple weeks.
To me, this was an easy answer, and it's Christian Watson. That's who I'm cutting. of these three. I wasn't in on Christian Watson to begin with. I don't I don't really love the Packers system for the wide receiver. Like, I think if it's not Jaden Reed, it's not really anybody, and then it's just going to be kind of like a spread out kind of thing. Keon Coleman, I have said he's going to have a good year. It's just going to take some time for him to get going. It looks like every time he steps on the field and starts to get involved in the offense, so he's looking better and better. And that 24-yard touchdown looked nice. He outran his defender. He looked plenty fast. He has good hands. He has good ball ability. He separated. Something we're still not seeing a ton of out of that man in Atlanta. And like I think Keon Coleman's time is going to come. If you have Keon Coleman, you hold. And if you want Keon Coleman, you make the move now because he only had one catch and one target.
Good call.
Christian Watson just doesn't seem involved. Cortland Sutton is very involved. And Bo Nix will get better.
Yeah. I think with you're never going to want to start Christian Watson, I think, even when Jordan Love's back. But like he's going to have big games, and you kind of have to swallow the bad games in the 50% snap share as well. Like that's kind of just the player he is at this point.
That's kind of where I was going, right? Like I think on aggregate, Christian Watson will probably score more than Cortland Sutton, but of the three, he'll easily be the most annoying to roster between now and the end of the season, because good luck figuring out which week it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Last one question here before we get to a couple of fun pop culture cut questions. Hunter Henry, Isaiah Likely, or Kyle Pitts? Hunter Henry, as Steve alluded to, we went back to our toxic ex. He turned back into a pumpkin and a jackass. 2.9 points per reception points this past week. Just 3 targets. He had the monster game in week 2, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 109 yards. Came back down to earth. Isaiah Likely, he has just 3 catches and 30 yards since that week 1 breakout game, but has played more snaps than Mark Andrews this past week, 62% to 33% for Mark Andrews. I don't know if he was banged up or if he was dealing with, I think he has asthma as well or something like that. So I don't know if he was dealing with that. But weird to see Mark Andrews not out there. And then Kyle Pitts, fantasy point total so far this season. He caught a touchdown week 1, scored 11.6 PPR points, and then 5.7 the next week, and then 7.9. So kind of just falling out of the pecking order. Seems like Darnell Mooney is more involved in this offense here. So Eric, if you're cutting one of these tight ends, who are you doing?
I will say smell you later to Hunter Henry. I think it was cute that we all ran out and picked him up after that huge target volume game, and then he turned around and put up a goose egg. Yeah,
I didn't either.
The collective we. And then he immediately became one of the most dropped tight ends in all of fantasy football, or at least is soon to be once the waiver wires run later tonight. He is clearly the one where he'll have a spike week or 2. We've seen arguably his best game of the season. Beyond that, you're basically just chasing whether or not one of his 2 or 3 catches is a touchdown. Whereas Pitts has legitimate upside. Isaiah Likely, as we've seen, has legitimate upside. The thing that's different with Isaiah Likely this year is the Ravens are running a lot more 2 tight end sets. About 55% of their snaps have 2 tight ends on the field. That is a distinct change from years past. So he will have opportunity in an offense that desperately needs pass catchers.
Yeah, I will say bottom line, though, for me, like I am cutting Hunter Henry. We've kind of, Steve, I think you're on board for that probably as well. And, but the moment Kyle Pitts has a big game, like try to get out, I think. Like I just don't think there's going to be enough pass volume here in Atlanta. They don't seem like a run and gun offense this season. Kirk Cousins kind of still making his way back. And like I said, I think he's going to be 3rd or 4th on the team in targets when you factor in Bijan.
I mean,
you're holding.
I like the idea of selling high always, right? D-gen. I like to transact.
Yeah.
But also look at the state of tight end. Like if you're moving on from Kyle Pitts, like what do you have left? You're rostering Hunter Henry at that point.
Right. He's consistent. At the end of the day, he is consistent. And whether
I just rather stream.
It may not be the 20. It may not be Travis Kelce in his prime that we expected. But you know what? Like, why do you want to stream that? Because then you wind up with Hunter Henry, or like someone's going to wind up paying too much for Cole Kmet.
I would trade him. I would trade him for TJ Hawk. I would trade him for TJ Hawkinson and a bench running back or something. Then see if I can get
a bench running back. Why TJ Hawkinson? You're going to trust Sam Darnold over? Like, I mean, listen.
I am. I just don't trust this offense in Atlanta. I don't.
If you're getting 7 points a game out of your tight end right now, you're thrilled.
Okay, I just want to throw something out there, and
Oh, we got
Revolution
spicy
time.
Seth tonight.
maybe it's the offense, maybe it's the quarterback. But what if we were just all wrong and too high on Kyle Pitts?
We were.
Yeah, we were
Categorically. There's no
But-
what if.
But
We were.
We don't have to swing to the other side of the spectrum though, right? Like he's
Right.
not dog water. He
Like-
is categorically better than like the streaming tight
He's
end.
an above average
classic
tight
player.
end in the
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah,
That's what he is.
I just sometimes think back about
To-
him being the 4th overall pick and watching him at Florida catch like 20 fucking touchdowns his senior year. And
He also might just be in the wrong team. Like, listen,
Maybe.
who knows? Michael Penix
Yeah, I
goes
mean,
in there
his-
and he may just start slinging it. I mean, you
True.
never know.
yeah,
His
just
skill
makes me
set
sad.
is very duplicative with what they have in Drake London, right? So like they're
yeah,
going to be competing for opportunity there.
Yeah.
Credit to you, like if you're going to go out there and make a trade, I wouldn't mind the idea of Hawkinson and a backup running back. But if you're trading Kyle Pitts away for the sake of I'm going to go stream tight ends right now and guess which guy is going to get me 2 points and which guy is going to get me 6, like you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah,
that's like
going the way of the dinosaur.
th-
It's
that's
just dying.
That's just the type of shit that you like. Whatever tight end you pick up off the waiver wire, you put like a quarter of a unit down on an anytime touchdown, and you let the good times roll. And if they come, they come, and if they don't, they don't. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get Kyle here up on screen. We're gonna bring some other questions in the fold, some entertainment stuff. Kyle, what's up, man? How are you enjoying the program so far?
Howdy, 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 fellas. It's a great show so far. Proud to be a part of it. How are we enjoying cut one so far without me? Hopefully not as much.
No, not as much.
Better
Not as
now.
much. I'm ready to talk some fun stuff here before we get to the people's questions at the end of the program, though. Because the Kyle Pitts stuff just bums me out. Just bums me out real bad. So, Kyle, let's get some more fun questions, if you would.
Yeah, let's flip the script a little bit, kind of completely, a little out of left field. Cut one of the following: candy corn, Reese's Pumpkins, or Kelly Pumpkins. Seth,
I-
you want
I-
to explain what Kelly Pumpkins are?
Yeah,
I have
that's
no idea what Kelly Pumpkins are.
Yeah, that's a typo.
And,
It's supposed to be jelly pumpkins. I'm gonna be honest with you. So that's on me there. Yeah, but I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna cut candy corn. It was gross as a kid. It's still kind of fucking gross. Like at least like not a big fan of like the decorative jelly pumpkins either. But like at least you can like swallow them without making a weird face. So now I'm gonna cut candy corn here. Reese's Pumpkins for life, baby.
Okay. It's Reese's Pumpkins, like as the only thing that's edible on this list. The rest of it is garbage. Like jelly pumpkins, that shit makes me sick. Like those jelly kind of things are fucking gross. And candy corn, if you eat candy corn, you just should eat out of the trash because that's what you're eating. Like you're just an absolute garbage person. Like you're dumpster diving for candy.
Wow. Just want to say, if anyone's out there and listens to candy corn, you're not a garbage person. You're a great human being. Kyle, that being said, where are you at on this?
I've been in the candy corners.
This is probably one of the hottest candy takes I think I have. I fucking hate Reese's Pumpkins.
Why?
I'm already not a big fan of Reese's Cups, and frankly, I think the bigger they get, Reese's Cups go down in quality. The best Reese's Cups are the mini ones.
I agree. I agree on that.
Wait, do you go even smaller then? Do you prefer Reese's Pieces
I
over the
love
mini
Reese's
cups?
Pieces. Yeah.
What do you mean you love Reese's Pieces? Wait a minute. What the fuck do you mean you love Reese's Pieces but don't like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups? Like,
Reese's
I'm not a
Peanut
huge
Butter
Reese's guy, but like that doesn't
a
even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. It's the same freaking thing.
No.
Stay consistent or just don't have an opinion on it. But like, you can't just flip flop like that.
No, because
This is worse with you
Reese's
here.
Cups,
I want you to know that we're having a worse time.
the Reese's Cups, as they get bigger, the peanut butter it gets so greasy. And
I agree.
It's
enough that
dust.
wet. No,
Yeah.
It's dust.
Like the bottom of it's fucking wet.
Yeah, it's a good
Half of the-
point.
Half of the chocolate's left on the wrapper.
Because the
It's
chocolate melted.
disgusting.
Put it in the fridge.
No, at room temperature.
Put it in the fridge.
Off the cart, off the counter at the store. You pick it up. It's greasy. It's greasy.
How big are these fucking pumpkins that you're like? Because you keep gesturing for it, and they just like are getting like.
No,
You get your
no, I'm
forklift
talking.
and
I'm
you
talking
grab
about the
this
little.
pumpkin. Little hand
Eric,
truck.
Eric, where you at? Bring us back on the track here. Round us out.
Oh
What are
man,
you
I don't know
cutting?
if there's any reestablishing the track for this segment. Definitely with Steve, Reese's Pumpkins are the only enjoyable option on this list. I've never experienced neither a jelly or a Kelly pumpkin, so I'm gonna rule them out here just because I haven't had my mind open yet. Candy corn, not a candy corn guy. A little bit closer to the median here. Don't think they're trash people. I also don't think that they're necessarily wonderful human beings. But what I will say is every single year, even though I know I don't like candy corn, the son of a bitch lures me back in. I'll see some candy corn, be like, meh, I'll give it a go. And the second it's in my mouth, I'm just angry that I
That's me with
decided to
circus
dive back
peanuts.
in.
Yes, I honestly probably about every year I'll go to my grandma's house and she'll usually have it out and I'll be like, I'll give this another go around. Maybe
Tis the
I'll like it
season.
this year, and I just
I
don't.
will
Immediately
retract
hate
my
yourself.
statement that candy corn enjoyers are garbage people, but I'm just saying there's like a solid chance Jeffrey Dahmer ate candy corn as his favorite.
Yeah,
Might have
Fair.
invented it. Who knows?
Like he probably did.
Kyle, I think we have another time for another question or two. What you got here?
Yeah, so we're all gonna cast our minds back to this weekend, back to Sunday and Monday and
Okay.
Thursday, if you want, and think about the color commentators because you're gonna have to cut one: Tom Brady, Mark Sheriff, Greg Olson, Tony Romo, Chris Collinsworth, Troy Aikman, or
Jesus.
Kirk Herbstreit.
Wow.
Eric,
Wow.
you look like you watch a lot of football, don't you? You probably have a really strong opinion on one of these.
I watch a lot of football, but I watch it with the sound off.
You are
If
real?
I'm listening, I'm
Eric
usually
says cut 'em
listening to a radio broadcast. So smell you later to this whole group. Of the ones that I have consumed, I think Greg Olson's probably the best of all of them. He is a fantastic commentator. And I don't like what I've seen of Tom Brady. It's very clear that he is a cyborg non-human, and it's hard to listen to him talk about football. Chris Collinsworth, hit the bricks, pal. You're like the less charismatic version of John Madden, where you just say the most obvious shit, but you're not actually enjoyable to listen to. So Collinsworth, you can get out of here.
I'm right on board with you, honestly. And shout out Mark Schlereth. That was probably the first time I've ever heard my girlfriend Katie laugh from a color commentator this weekend. Stink says some funny things, man, and he gets some good pops out of the crowd. So love Stink. I actually like TB on the call right now. I'm gonna take a little getting used to, but I do like TB on the call. Greg Olson. Romo is like kind of like gone down in a couple years.
Mailing it in.
Yeah, I don't think he tries as hard as he used to. Herbie, Thursday Night Football. I appreciate what he does over there. He doesn't have to do that, but I appreciate he's a part of this sport. Troy Aikman, he's all right. You know, he's got a beer, so he might be cool. But yeah, fuck Chris Collinsworth. So Steve, round us out. Who you cutting?
Chris Collinsworth. I'm so sick of like Patrick Mahomes will throw the ball to the sideline like on a throwaway pass, and he's like, "What a play!" That's actually a certifiable thing he did it this weekend. He threw it away while he was getting sacked, and Collinsworth is like, "That is a hell of a play by a hell of a play." Like, bro, come on now. Like, you're going a little hard on the, And here's a guy. Shut up. Goodbye, Chris Collinsworth. Get out.
All right. Kyle, I also think we have one more question here about some stuff happening here in the fall, more in the TV realm. You might see a lot of these commercials during your games, during your NASCAR races, during your golf outings. Let's talk about that and round us out here in Cut One.
All right, we got a lot in the fall slate coming out for TV, but you got to cut one of them. We got a lot of great options. We got Rescue High Surf, okay? So this is a show that follows the dedicated, heroic, and adrenaline-seeking lifeguards of the North Shore of Oahu as they save people's lives in the difficult and often life-threatening conditions of Hawaii's 7 Mile Miracle. All right.
Okay.
And then that's going to be airing on Fox.
Okay.
So then on Disney Plus, we got Agatha All Along. That's a Marvel show about a spellbound Agatha Harkness regains freedom thanks to a teen's help. Intrigued by his plea, she embarks on the Witch's Road's trial to reclaim her powers and discover the teen's motivations.
Okay. All right. No, that sounds that sounds they really hype those Disney ones up there.
On Netflix, we got Penelope, a 16-year-old girl who feels alienated from contemporary civilization, is pulled into the uncharted wilderness and starts to build a new life for herself there. And then on CBS, what we're all waiting for, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, part of the Big Bang Theory / Young Sheldon cinematic universe. It's about Georgie and Mandy navigating the challenges of adulthood, parenting, and marriage while raising their young family in Texas. Steve, what are you watching this fall? And what are you not watching this fall?
I will say that Agatha All Along has dropped its first 2 episodes. I watched it the day it came out, and then I watched it again the next day. I rewatched. I've enjoyed it immensely. It's a high-budget show. It's acted really well with Catherine Hahn, Joe Locke, Patti LuPone, the queen of Broadway herself. Listen, it's a romp for, it's for the girlies and the gays, right? Like we're having a time of our lives here, having all our fun with Agatha All Along. So that show's safe. Penelope sounds like it could have some sort of social commentary on whatever the crisis going on in the world right now. This is a tough one because Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. Who keeps asking for more Big Bang Theory shit?
It's kind of good. It's kind of
no,
good.
it is. It's not. And then Rescue High Surf just sounds like Baywatch, but more dramatic. And I'm just not interested. Like, how many times are you going to watch someone be like, "Help! I was sucked out by the riptide." Like, all right, I'd cut that one. Honestly, that's the one I'm cutting because you know what?
Wow.
At least some of Young Sheldon was like watchable or had some good plot line. Rescue High Surf sounds like it just sounds like it's gonna suck. Like it's just gonna be the same thing over and over again. And I'm just waiting. It's gonna be a bunch of really weirdly attractive people running around shirtless and then fucking each other. Like that's what that's gonna be. And it's really not worth my time.
So I'm gonna be honest. I got one of these shows set on the DVR right now.
It's absolutely Rescue High Surf, you sicko.
It's absolutely Rescue High Surf. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to jump in the waves, man. No, I like surfing. I think it's cool. So
what do you mean you like surfing? You live in a landlocked
you get good
state.
waves over there in central Pennsylvania.
Like I don't know how to surf, but like I like watching people surf. So
you want to watch a whole show about it? You want to watch a whole show about people rescuing? Not even about people surfing. This is about people who think they can surf who can't. Because remember, they're being rescued. It's about a bunch of people who suck at surfing.
To be fair, that's probably a little bit closer to Seth's surfing ability, right? He's going to need to be rescued by these people.
That finds it relatable. He's like, I also can't surf and would have to be rescued.
I'm gonna cut Penelope though. That's my cut. I would give George and Mandy's potentially a watch. I haven't watched Young Sheldon, but I've seen parts of it, and I do like those 2 characters in particular. So I think that's the right spinoff. That's the right move there. And I don't have anything to say about Marvel. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm cutting Penelope. Eric, cut one.
I am going to cut what I believe will be the most popular of these shows, and that's George and Mandy's First Marriage. I have been entirely out on the entire Big Bang Theory universe. I'm right there with Steve. I don't know who is asking for this, but it certainly isn't me. I have zero interest in this whatsoever. I also agree. This might just be an age thing. Rescue High Surf is Baywatch in Hawaii. Maybe David Hasselhoff will make a cameo. So I'll keep it around just in the off chance that he shows up.
Kyle, you got anything to say? And you got any defending for the Big Bang universe here?
No, absolutely not. Why would I? What do I have to defend the Big Bang Theory for?
That's good. That was a good program. Like 11 seasons, bro.
It was not good.
What does it have to do with anything?
It was a good show, good program. Had a good run.
All right. I mean,
we've already established Seth should not have an opinion on any sort of entertainment, anything. I don't even ask him for article ideas anymore. I'm just like, I'm doing what I want. stay out of my way.
What are you cutting, Kyle?
So going through it, Penelope, that's safe because that's my girlfriend's name. Rescue High Surf,
up.
that's safe. That sounds like the sickest show on network television of all time. Are you kidding
It'll
me?
be canceled after
So
one
what is
season.
Baywatch 2? That sounds awesome.
Any-
They watch at moments.
Agatha all along, I really couldn't give a shit. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, really couldn't give a shit, but like less. So I'm cutting Georgie and Mandy.
Wow. All right.
Yo.
Singa.
George and Mandy. I thought that one would get some love. Let us know in the chat.
I'll lay money down that Rescue High Surf gets canceled after one season.
All right.
surprised by
Okay, here we go. Let's make the bet right here, Steve. What do you say? 20, 50?
20.
20
$20
bucks.
What are
Oh,
what is going to
okay.
keep this
Pack
family
a-
together if
pack
not our
push
tradition?
Light.
Yes.
A pack of corn cans at
Yep.
the expo.
Yep.
Come on.
At the Fantasy Football Expo, this next year, you'll present me with a pack of a 30 rack of Busch Light corn cans in this bet, and I will buy you whatever drink. I know you're not really. I'll buy whether it's a food, a drink, you pick. Let me know. Say it right now, and that'll be your about $25 value. That's what you're looking for.
I'll take a 6-pack of Guinness from you.
Okay.
Take a
6-pack
shot of
again.
tequila.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. Eric got the most expensive shot of tequila I've ever bought in my life. So appreciate that one. Kyle, I appreciate you as well, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us here, giving your opinion and analysis as well. And let's go ahead and round out the show. We got a shit ton of questions for everyone here, and let's answer them here and from the forum.
If you're up, stuck, thinking about what to do, here in between, we got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say. Presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
Shout out to our community over on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. If you guys haven't checked out that great community yet, make sure you're doing it. Go download the app, Fantasy Sports Advice Network, or go to fantasyfootballadvicenetwork.com. You can interact with us, the whole IBT family, as well as some other great people in the community, whether they're creators or whether they're just other fantasy football degens like you. So make sure you're checking them out, fantasyfootballadvice.com. And let's get some questions here from the chat. First one, would you rather any of the Chargers, Broncos, or Packers, or would you rather have any of the Chargers, Broncos, Packers defense over Ravens defense? Yeah, how do you feel about this one, Eric? I honestly don't know off the top of my head these matchups, so I can find these as you give me any deep analysis on these cornerback rooms.
I don't need you to. The Ravens are playing the Bills. I think that's why Rachel is asking. But that's still the direction that I'm going. The Broncos have the Jets. The Packers have the Vikings. The fourth team that is missing me right now, the Chargers, also don't have a particularly favorable matchup against the Chiefs. So, all of these are kind of neutral or worse matchups. So I'll go with the more talented defense overall, and that's the Ravens.
Steve?
I like the Packers defense. I think they might have the best defense on the year for fantasy value.
I've been surprised to see the change in coordinator really, come into effect there, but I can't roll them out against the Broncos. So, excuse me, sorry, the Vikings. But I wouldn't be afraid. I don't think to roll out the Ravens. I would just keep them in your back pocket, and I don't want to roll them out against the Bills, but I understand why you're doing that. But yeah, not really great options for you out there either way, Rachel, but appreciate tuning in nonetheless. Jason, will you trade McBride and Sutton for Stevenson and Pittman? My backup tight end is Fergie. I don't think I'm doing this, Eric, because I think I might be giving up the best player in the trade, and I usually don't try to do that. You are getting a good running back in Sutton. You do have a good tight end in Ferguson on your bench, so it's compelling. I don't want Michael Pittman. I'm trying to trade Michael Pittman away, but I get the appeal maybe getting Stevenson.
Yeah, I mean, we spent no shortage of time talking about how much of a wasteland tight end is this year, and really the only exception there has been Trey McBride for at least by and large, right? So you're not only giving away an asset, you're giving away a coveted asset. I would go the other direction, right? Like this team is approaching you because they are, I don't know, trading away Kyle Pitts and having to stream tight ends, and they need a quote unquote more sure thing. Ferguson just had a phenomenal game. Go try to flip Ferguson is the one that you should try to move, even if you don't get as significant of a return. If you get anything that adds some depth, that gives you a little bit of upside. I think that is the move to make as opposed to moving on from McBride.
Steve, are you starting Dak Prescott this week? The Cowboys, they'll have a pretty favorable matchup in the New York Giants, so I think you could be very confident in rolling Dak out, while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not as great of a match, but still a really good matchup, I would say. The Philadelphia Eagles, probably a top 5 one as well for the quarterback position. So Dak or Baker for you?
Dak. I think the Eagles defense is better than we think it is. We saw it happen. I think they're going to gel. I just don't love starting Baker Mayfield. And with CeeDee Lamb chewing out Dak Prescott, it's going to be an absolute air raid kind of attack. Dak throws it a billion times a game. He just has the higher upside.
Okay. Here we have Marshall Khalifa Abracant. I have Kyler and Jaden Daniels. Cup hurt. I have Devonta Smith and Waddle and Terry. Someone offered me Drake London for Jaden Daniels straight up. What we thinking?
No.
I would do that.
No, I wouldn't.
If it's a 1 quarterback league, I would do that.
It doesn't matter if it's a 1 quarterback league. You have the best quarterback in the NFL right now for fantasy purposes. And Jaden Daniels, you don't trade him for Drake London.
You're taking a guy that you got in the 9th, 10th round. And
I don't give a shit where I drafted him. I wouldn't have drafted Drake London in the 9th round. So that's.
But you're getting it to me still low end wide receiver 1, a guy I would draft in the 2nd round if we were doing it again. So Eric, where are you at here on this? I'm probably doing this.
Yeah, so I think for the sake of the analysis, remove Drake London and just say fringe wide receiver 1, and I think maybe it changes the point of view a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think you're fine pulling the trigger on this, but I'll qualify it by saying go out and shop Jaden Daniels, right? There are
I agree
of top tier quarterbacks that people drafted way too early that haven't been living up to their expectation. I think you can probably get a bit more than this. If this is the best you can do, then yeah, I'm perfectly fine in a 1 quarterback league taking an area of depth, like a position, specifically a onesie position like quarterback, and flipping it for someone that you could slot into your starting lineup.
He also has Terry McLaurin, though. So he has that stack. Why not shop Kyler and see if you can do that instead?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think you'll get more for Jaden Daniels, is why I say shop him around, right? He was on an island game just looking like the next coming. So people are going to be willing to open up.
He also has a strong wide receiver room right now. I don't think he needs to make this trade where Jaden Daniels is putting up the kind of points he's going to be putting up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like the analysis overall. Like, I think just go out and shop him, see what the best offer you can get. But you might not be in a position where you need to make this trade, but he does have some question marks with Waddle. He does have Devonta Smith, who's banged up as well. So you might have to go out and get yourself wide receiver 1. So I don't hate it. Bottom line for you, man. Super Size. What's up, Super Size? Thanks for tuning in tonight, man. If I had to keep one defense for the long haul, which should it be? The Chargers or the Chiefs, or should I just stream defenses each week? I ask because I want to snatch up Cole Kmet and need space. To me, like we're in a place now, man, where like there's really very few defenses you can keep long term in the season. You'll find 1 or 2 throughout the season. Steelers, they look like that defense this week. You can kind of or this season you can roll them out every single week. To me, this week, I'd rather play the Chargers because you don't know where, or the Chiefs, excuse me, because you don't know we're going to get the Chargers quarterback position. So drop the Chargers, keep the Chiefs, and but then just be willing to stream from there on out. Eric, any digression from you?
No, bang on. Very much so intend on streaming every single week. I mentioned it earlier. The first thing I do on Tuesday morning, I cut my kicker, I cut my defense, try to create some roster space, and then go out and see if I can't work a deal or someone ends up being ruled out and frees up some roster space. But streaming is very much so the way to go, even against that elite defense over the course of a season, right? Like you're only talking about an incremental difference week over week relative to streaming.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play the matchups, man, because week one in my home league, I played the Bears against the Titans, and they went off. They had 20 plus points. This past week, I went right back to the well. I played the Packers against the Titans, and they had 20 plus points. So you got to play the matchups, man. There's some really like turnover
Play the
prone
team
teams
facing
out
the
there.
Titans.
Yeah,
Moral of the story.
yeah, absolutely. Coming to you, Steve, full PPR super flex. I've start 2 quarterbacks, Dak, Stroud, or Andy Dalton. You already said you like Dak quite a bit against the Giants. Are you liking Andy Dalton? You drinking enough juice here for the Carolina Panthers to get down with them against the Bengals here? Or are you shifting over to our guy CJ Stroud, who kind of a disappointing performance here in week number 3 overall for him, but he does have the Jaguars, who were just ate up alive by Josh Allen.
This is, I get why it's happening. Okay, I'm just gonna, I see what's happening here. Don't panic. Please don't overthink this. You start Dak, you start Stroud. Andy Dalton had a great game. He played the Raiders.
Revenge game. Red Rifle going home, baby.
Red Rifle isn't good enough to have a revenge game. He didn't do anything of note. You don't get to have a revenge game if you're not really like good.
He saved that franchise.
Like
he saved that franchise. He brought him to 5 straight first.
That'd be like being like Brian Hoyer's playing
morning.
the Patriots this week. It's a revenge game. Like, no, it's not. Go away. No. Andy Dalton is not going to do that again.
I think Andy Dalton will have some value rest of the season, especially in a 2 quarterback league. Keep him on your team, but
yes,
keep him around, but don't start him over those guys.
Yep, agreed with you there. Would you guys trade Christian McCaffrey from Marvin Harrison Jr. and B-Rob? Absolutely, I would.
Yes,
not like there's not even a question in my. Yes, holy Chris Geneva, like. Do this,
smash
this, and then go outside, whatever your vice is, shotgun a beer, light up a dart, light up a joint. I don't give a shit, and just celebrate. Because, like, I mean, Christian McCaffrey could come back and have a good end of the regular season and win people championships, but there are a lot of question marks right now, dog. And you're getting offered a low end wide receiver 1, in my opinion, and a strong RB2 in Brian Robinson. He has that role solidified. Austin Eckler banged up with the concussion this past weekend as well. So, I mean, Eric, what can you say other than run, don't walk, and celebrate, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, that's really it, right? Like, if we want to try to parse something and talk about the way the roster is constructed, maybe there's, something that kind of chips away at it. But I think unanimously, we are all very concerned about the prospect of CMC playing meaningful snaps this year. And even on the downside, that does come to pass, right? Like, you have gotten more than requisite value in return for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you, Chris. Chris is a guy who's hung around these streets for a while. Appreciate you as always, man. We got Kingy Yusuf. All right, Kingy Yusuf. I traded Rhamondre, Devontae Adams, and Devin Singletary for Chris Olave and Kenneth Walker. Did I get scammed?
Yeah, you did. You got fleeced. Sorry, buddy.
Whoa! Wait. I don't think he did at all. Are you serious?
Yeah, he absolutely did. Like, Kenneth Walker is because he's not that good. Like, he had a great week 1, but
Walker's awesome.
He's not that good. He's not going to catch enough passes in PPR. Devin Singletary has that backfield locked up for the Giants. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. Rhamondre Stevenson seems to be the starter in New England. Gets plenty of touches outside of that Jets game. Olave's in an offense that he is not the primary weapon in. You got fleeced, and
he also has Mason, AK-41, and Najee. Though, Eric, do you think he got fleeced?
Well, who you have elsewhere on your roster really doesn't change the ruling on this particular deal, right? I won't go quite as far as Steve is to say that you got fleeced, but I wouldn't do this deal if it was presented to me. I'm certainly more bullish on Olave than Steve is. I think Kenneth Walker he's an NFL running back, right? The way that Zach Charbonnet has performed, I think we're going to see him eat into his workload a bit. But I don't think if I was on either side of this deal, I don't know if I would necessarily click the button. It just feels like it's kind of meh.
Yeah, I don't think you got scam, man, at all. Like, in my opinion, fully healthy. I think you got the two best players, in my opinion. Like, I like Walker more than I like Rhamondre and Singletary, in my opinion. I know Sharp's been good, man, but Kenneth Walker's been really, like, look at the stats when he's in there. Kenneth Walker is a stud. And Chris Olave, I want to be part of that Saints offense, regardless of like the ups and downs that it's going to have, because it's going to have some really good ups, man. This past week, we cashed that anytime TD, guys. So I'm going to keep riding with Chris Olave out there. I know it's going to be some ups and downs, but again, I probably like the Olave side a little bit more. I'm okay with like expending Devontae Adams. Like,
realistically, Devin Singletary's the get in this deal. He's the best player in the deal right now.
No, get out of here, Steve.
He scored the most points.
Chris Olave is the best player in this deal. It's not close.
It's Singletary, Devontae, and then Olave, I think, maybe Rhamondre. So,
and that's wild. We're all three on a different plane. I think Devontae is the best piece in this deal, but I think you're splitting hairs between him and Olave. They're kind of 1A, and then there's a tier break after that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Don't be hard on yourself, bud. Yeah. Good run. It was a good run. I think you'll be fine. We appreciate the question. Sorry we couldn't come to a consensus. I think it's a fine trade. Steve, not so certain.
Keep coming back and let us know how it goes each week. I'm curious.
Hopefully you can shut Steve up. I'd appreciate that. Blizzard here. Chat. Which side of the dynasty trade here? Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., and Marvin Harrison Jr. or Brian Thomas Jr., Dobbins, and JMO. Thanks. It's Marv for me. It's not close.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking. I had to like make sure I was seeing what I was seeing, and I was like, okay, yeah. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. I just don't like Dobbins is not going to last too much longer for you. Jameson Williams, I think we saw the best of him. He'll be that flash kind of guy. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the same thing. They're both really inconsistent deep threats. So you want the guy who's going to continue to grow into this wide receiver one role, and that's Marvin Harrison.
This is another one, Eric. Like, I do like Jameson's like long-term career upside. Same with Brian Thomas Jr. I've been drafting him everywhere. I have a lot of him. But if I could ever scale up and get to Marv here, my goodness, like that's what Dynasty is about, is getting these elite guys. And I don't care how many, good players I have to give up to get him. I'll do it every time. You don't have to give any picks up.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some nice young pieces in the package side of this deal. None of it rolls up to accumulate what you can expect going forward out of Marvin Harrison Jr., right? If for whatever reason you want to get out of the Maserati Marv business, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Go into the marketplace of your league and get more than this, because I think you can.
Yeah, agreed. Jack. Roma Dunze or Darnell Mooney? Oh, that's a good question. Darnell Mooney. I mean, my goodness, were they targeting him every time they critical third down? Let's throw it to Darnell Mooney on a screen. First down, 1st and 10. Let's throw Darnell Mooney on a 3-yard slant. So a lot of Darnell Mooney, but Rome had a great game as well. Really showed the burst we were looking for out of him. We don't know the health of Keenan Allen moving forward as well. Where are you at on this one, Eric?
I guess I'm kind of curious in what context. Rest of season. Actually, I don't even really care. Rest of season, Roma Dunze in Dynasty. Certainly Roma Dunze. If it is a this week discussion,
question.
Also going Roma Dunze. I do like Darnell Mooney. I was catching all kinds of shit on them Twitter streets for suggesting that Darnell Mooney might be fantasy relevant this year. When we were talking about Kyle Pitts, we talked about how both he and Drake London kind of have this duplicative skill set. And in turn, Darnell Mooney's getting a lot more looks because he's the one thing that is not like the other in that offense, right? So I think he definitely has value. I think the upside of Roma Dunze is insane, right? Like he finally broke out last week. If you watch the first 2 weeks where he wasn't contributing much, he was getting open left and right. I think he's got a lot of opportunity in an offense that throws the ball like 40 times a game plus.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you there. Steve, are you also here, Roma Dunze, stashing him and seeing what happens here later this season?
I gotta start going first on these things because I keep sounding like a contrarian every time I speak. No, I'm Darnell Mooney at this point.
Wow.
I just look at the last 2 weeks. He's been so involved. He's making big plays. There's no one coming back to take snaps away from him. Keenan Allen's gonna come back, and yes, Roma Dunze. had a good game, but it was really an ugly, ugly, ugly game for Caleb Williams overall. He chucked the ball like 55 times or something like that. It's not going to happen like that every week. And when Keenan Allen comes back, he's going to use him as a safety net a lot. We're going to see a lot more check down throughout the game. And I think Darnell Mooney's role is much more secure. And I think it's growing versus potentially shrinking.
Yeah, this is a question here for this week with a potential flex after Devonta Smith might be out with a concussion. So,
Darnell Mooney.
Eric, you're still for this week.
I'm even further in the Roma Dunze camp now. He gets that Rams secondary that has just been getting torched left and right. Jawan Jennings, who went out and scored like 1 billion points, was running against that Rams secondary.
What if Keenan's back? Does that still Rome?
Yeah, but by all means, right? Like it certainly caps his upside, right? With the potential of splitting that volume, but this matchup is so juicy, right? Like
little beer bet.
He's played better than we would have expected.
I'm throwing it down. I'm throwing down the gauntlet.
Beer bet.
Not only will we have a beer bet, but if in fact I lose this one, I'll actually drink Seth's weird beer assortment when we get to Canton, Ohio.
Hey man, nothing's better than a little Busch Light for you and a little icy light mango. Have a little respect for me, would you? All right, yeah.
Man's got our paychecks. Show him some damn respect.
Yes.
Sure.
Last question here before we get out of here tonight. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Easiest way to support us again, just hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Riggs, how do you guys feel about James Conner and Mike Evans for Kyren Williams? I have Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown, so I feel good about my wide receivers already. 10-man PPR redraft. Again, I don't want to try to be a take a lot guy because I was the low man on Kyren Williams, I think, for the program coming in this season. I still got Blake Corum everywhere. I'm still trying to hold out hope that maybe Sean McVay will use him a little bit more, but Kyren Williams is the guy there. However, like, did Sean McVay not learn his lesson? Like, Kyren Williams isn't really a guy, in my opinion, you can run out there and give him 90+% of the snaps. I think he should have a little bit more mixed in company back there in that backfield. So I'm not doing this personally. Like, I get you got Justin Jefferson, you got AJ Brown, but Mike Evans in your flex, that's an elite play. James Conner, I think he's fine. I don't think there's that much, of a difference by the end of the year from Kyren and James Conner. They're both guys I'm worried are going to get hurt. So I'm not doing this trade. I'm not trading for Kyren Williams. I think you get more for James Conner and Mike Evans. Eric, you're shaking your head.
I agree with your analysis in that I'm not taking this deal, right? I think that's a bit too rich for Kyren Williams. Where I was shaking my head was at the idea that Sean McVay knows that he can't give Kyren Williams an absurd workload. It's literally all that he's done since he's returned from injury about a year ago, and the guy has done nothing but produce RB5 or better production.
He's gonna produce it, but like. I like, if you were to put money on it right now, how many games does Kyren Williams play the rest of the season?
More than James Conner.
I agree.
I would bet that number is damn close with how many.
I'm not taking the deal. I agree that James Conner is probably more likely to miss games, but James Conner and Mike Evans, I read this as James Conner for Mike Evans and Kyren Williams at first. I'm like, smash accept on that. But James Conner and Mike Evans, no, you don't trade that. No way. Not for just Kyren Williams. It's not an upgrade enough.
We'll answer one more before we get out of here. Who would you drop? Gus Edwards, Chase Brown, or Demarcus Robinson? All right, came to the right place. We already did our cuts edition earlier in the show, but I'm dropping Demarcus Robinson here. Like, these are still running backs. Chase Brown, little bit of juice on Monday night. Chase Brown, I knew you had it in him. My guy out of Champaign, so I'm never dropping Chase Brown. You heard it here. So, and Gus is a fine, depth running back, I guess. Demarcus Robinson, it feels like maybe Tutu Atwell might have stole that job.
Yep, I agree.
Eric?
You have to end on a consensus. I'm kicking Demarcus to the curb.
I'll get one more. We'll get one more for a guy Roy's here. 10-team half PPR, trade Tyreek and Rashad White for Marvin Harrison Jr.
No.
Yeah. The Dolphins, even if Tua doesn't come back, like, they're gonna do something at quarterback, man. Whether that's Ryan Tannehill or go out and trade for a Russell Wilson or whatever. Jamin,
Snoop Hundley's in the building. What are we talking about?
yeah,
Pro
we
Bowler.
yeah, there you go. You got old Snoop there as well. So you don't do that trade. No, don't. If you can get Tyreek and White for Marv, would you do that? Like, would you trade for them and give up Marv for them? Because I probably would.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, honestly, I would kind of pass on this deal overall. It feels like you're sort of trading.
Yeah, I probably sit tight on both sides because if you own
Dude,
Tyreek, you want to see what's going on with the quarterback. If you don't own Tyreek, you don't really want to get involved in that quarterback mess.
If we redrafted today, I'd still take Tyreek as a first round pick. Marv to me would still be in the second round. So if I can get Tyreek plus, absolutely, I'm smashing that.
Yeah, right. I guess my thought is that if you're in the business of trading Tyreek Hill away, he's gonna have a huge game at one of these points with one of the backups in, and that's the point where you do it, right?
Just wait. Yeah. How about Jay Jettis? I mean, I'd be more inclined to get Justin Jefferson. Absolutely, I would consider that a little bit more, but I'm still not trading Tyreek and White. Just don't panic, man. Like, you got to have other options and trying to trade Tyreek on your team. Like, I think this isn't the time. Like Eric said, wait till that value rises a little bit. I think you'll be sitting in a much better place. Like, sell someone who's high. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead. Actually, I guess we will hit the, we do have this question here from the forum as well that we wanted to get to. It is, if you're a contender, would you trade for Alvin Kamara in a Dynasty Fantasy Football League, 12-team Superflex? It's coming from Texas Trojan. You can either trade JJ McCarthy for Alvin Kamara or a late 2025 second and a 2025 second round pick as well as a first. And then you're also getting back Dontavian Wicks in this as well. So I don't know if that was super clear or not. I don't know, Eric.
Sorry,
Steve, go ahead.
I'm trading JJ McCarthy in this situation.
Okay.
He just never appealed to me as a quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be really that great.
Kyle or Eric, sorry.
God, we got Seth so shook he's calling me the wrong name. His one JJ McCarthy just catching strays. Honestly, I'm probably not making either of these deals for Alvin Kamara in Dynasty, right? I am an unapologetic ageist when it comes to Dynasty. Yes, if you have the opportunity to win right now, you have to try to capitalize on that opportunity. But Alvin Kamara is a player that you're probably going to have to cut in like a year or two, and you gave away some ridiculous capital in order to acquire him. So if this is a way to guarantee your championship, maybe I would consider it. But I don't think there's a way to guarantee your championship in week 4, heading into week 4 of the season, right? So I would probably not take either of these deals if I had to. I would also be trading JJ McCarthy. A first and a second is way too much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not making either one of these deals. Guys, if you have more questions for them, leave them in the comments of the show afterwards. We'll make sure we get them. And also head over to inbetweenmedia.com. You can ask us questions there. You can submit those to us over there, and we'll take a look at them. You can DM us on Twitter as well. I'll throw up all of our handles. I'm at @between_SethFF. The account IBT Media is at IBT_media. Steve is at Steve_Lawson93. Eric at Fantasy Nav. But put some more questions in the comments. We got to get out of here. Gotta get through the rest of the content for the week. But thank you guys so much for making time for us. We greatly appreciate it. If you enjoy this type of content, please give this video a thumbs up. Come back, subscribe to the channel, hang out with us again. For Steve Lawson, Eric Bromoff, I am Seth Wilcock. Thanks for coming down and hanging out with us tonight on the IBT podcast. We'll catch you next time, guys. Until then, good luck in week 4 and keep it in between until then. Thank you.